Welcome back, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We've got some more exceptional behavior from English voice actors to take a look at in this video to get a laugh from, starting with this post on our Genshin Impact where they call out Paimon VA, Karina Boetker. And spoiler alert right away, it's actually even worse than this because after this post was made, Karina got even worse. We'll get to that though. Let's start with the post. So they say, Paimon VA, who has worked the entirety of the quote-unquote strike, retweets telling her fellow VAs who are financially struggling due to the strike to suck it up. Also dismisses the need of fan support. Yeah, that's going to be a recurring theme throughout this video because we're going to take a look at a few other posts as well from VAs who are like, oh, we don't need the fans. Like, screw the fandoms. Yeah, coming from the same people who tried to manipulate the fandoms, manipulate the fans into supporting them for months. Now that that's failed and they got called out for their lies, oh, we don't need those people. We don't need them. It's actually impressive how these VAs and the other SAG-AFTRA bootlickers are so good at making themselves come off unlikable. It seems so effortless for them. Like, it just comes so natural. And so the context here is the screenshot included of Karina's Blue Sky account where she's reposting Blue Sky posts like this. Shauna Breyer had said, and we covered this yesterday, hey, I'm going to be real. To all the rich VAs saying this strike needs to end because your bottom line is starting to hurt, suck it up. Those of us at the bottom, who have a heck of a lot more to lose, are running Uber Eats, etc. to make it through this. The strike will end when we get our deal. As mentioned, I already commented on that yesterday, as well as some other stuff that Shauna said. But there is actually something new I want to show you guys regarding Shauna Breyer that I think you'll find amusing. First, the other two retweets here in the screenshot, both from a little Kribo. The first one saying, I remember seeing someone post, one of the most important things in a strike is fan support, and they've lost ours, and thinking to myself, I rather doubt when the steelworkers refused to work, they were super concerned with how their fan base perceived it. How tone deaf do you have to be? Little Kribo, are you kidding me? So first of all, the strikes that he's referring to from the steelworkers, this was stuff that occurred around 100 years ago, if not more than that in some cases. Quite a different set of circumstances. And yeah, I don't think the steelworkers were concerned about their fan base because they never had an online fan base that they were asking for support, obviously. How is he actually trying to compare that to a strike in the entertainment sector against video game companies where the union that's holding the strike has openly been asking for fan support? In which case, yes, the current SAG-AFTRA video game strike is absolutely concerned with how fan bases are perceiving the strike. And I have evidence of that. And it's crazy that little Kribo's out here acting like this is not a thing. Does he even know the strike that he's supporting, like what they're all about? Because it seems like he doesn't even understand what he's trying to defend. And I'm about to show you why little Kribo and Karina Boetker are very foolish for making those tweets, and it shows that they don't even know what they're talking about, as I have SAG-AFTRA's own website here. And I'll show you what I mean. But first, before we get to that, we have to interrupt this program because do you remember yesterday when we were talking about that crazy person, Dawson on Blue Sky, who was saying that if you criticize SAG-AFTRA, you're alt-right and that people are just spreading hero hate propaganda? You know, it was a bunch of nonsense. But now, prepare to be radicalized even further. Because once again, we've got some adorable art. This one from Free My Soul. Appreciate ya. And for all the people who keep leaving feet comments, well, you're definitely going to like this one that I was sent from Moki Neto and Anon, so thank you both. And yeah, it's definitely accurate to my reaction to all those comments. You can find the full thing on Blurred on my VTuber Twitter account, linked in the description and or pinned comment. Okay, now that you guys have been radicalized, back to the main topic. We were discussing how little Kribo and Karina Boetker were attempting to make the argument that the SAG-AFTRA strike against video game companies doesn't need fan support. Which is hilarious because the policies from SAG-AFTRA and their own executives disagree, which make Karina Boetker and little Kribo sound very foolish. Case and point, on sagaftra.org, they literally have a section for how fans can support their strike. This is clearly indeed something that they perceive as important, despite what little Kribo on Blue Sky might be saying and or suggesting. sagaftra.org says, for fans, why should the strike matter to video game fans? But we're going to skip to this part specifically where they say, how can I show support for the striking video game performers? You can help amplify our messages online using hashtag level up the contract, hashtag video game strike, and hashtag SAG-AFTRA strong. Click here for a look at how you can engage in this fight. Have another idea or want to show your support? Reach out to us here. How about we click the link? Yeah, dude, look at this. They got a whole other section here. Video game performers are stuck in a grind. AI is stealing voices, and companies are hoarding profits. The future of voiceover and performance capture artists is at stake, but our fight isn't single player. Oh, wow, how meta. Whether you're a gamer, a fan, a performer, a labor ally, or just someone who believes in fairness. Yeah, the gaslighting is real. Hey, but fairness, you want to talk about fairness when you guys openly disparage non-union VAs and call them lesser quality and like not as talented and that you guys are better and all that. But okay, fairness, right? We need you on our team. Want union protections on a game you're working on or have been offered a job on? It's not as hard as you might think. Contact our organizing team for more information. So they got this whole social media toolkit, petition they want you to sign, report strike breaking, aka be a rat, be a snitch, go get mad at people like Jacob Takanashi and feel all virtuous. Here's another example, because back in 2023 at Comic-Con, a number of voice actors, a part of SAG-AFTRA, got together to hold a panel where a large part of that panel was explaining why they need fan support and how fans can support the strike. Here's some of the stuff that they were saying. All the voice actors on the panel agreed that people within fan communities can be proactive in helping to shut down harmful fan mods by publicly calling out the creators and telling them to take those mods down. If you see someone's voice being used and you know they don't consent, call the modder out, VA Jones said. And where they say Jones there, they mean voice actress Sissy Jones. Continuing, they say, secondly, the panelists said cosplayers at San Diego Comic-Con and other events can weave SAG support into their costumes. Is that not one of the most lame things you've ever heard, guys? They are literally suggesting that you take your cosplay and you put some sort of SAG support on it. I don't know, like a patch that says support the strike or something. Like, dude, what? Come on, guys. It's worse. I forgot it gets worse. I've read this like a month ago, but I forgot just how, like, let me just read. Here you go. Duncan Crabtree Ireland, yeah, the person, by the way, who essentially said that non-union talent are lesser quality. That was like a quote from him, if I recall. It's like the national director of SAG and chief negotiator, I believe. I believe those are his titles. Anyways, dude says, or they say, Crabtree Ireland clarified that while SAG members and influencers are barred from cosplaying under the terms of the strike, it's okay for hobbyists to cosplay. My suggestion to cosplayers would be that if you are supportive of the strike, figure out a way to combine your support for the strike with your favorite characters. Oh my gosh, bro. Then you're actually helping us send the message we're trying to send, which is that the community at large is united in supporting us in the demands that we're making, which are reasonable demands, by the way. Yeah, right. But yeah, then you got these complete geniuses, Karina Boker, Paimon VA, and Little Karibo over on Blue Sky, acting like they don't need fan support at all. And do you remember Little Karibo's good buddy Kaiser Neko? He previously said that he was done talking about any of this stuff in reference to all this SAG-AFTRA VA stuff. Well, I guess he's not against reposting stuff related to it, as he reposted what Little Karibo said. Guess he really likes that point about steelworkers. Thinks that's a great point. So yeah, it's absolutely hilarious that Little Karibo and Karina Boetker and some others that are probably responding to this stuff and liking it and also reposting it on their Blue Skies, well, they're all saying that they don't need the fan support. Meanwhile, SAG-AFTRA on their own website are asking for fans to support them. They've gone on record at panels, including SAG executives on said panels, trying to get fans to support them. Now let's have some fun by taking a look at the top comments in that Reddit post and what they got to say about Karina and Little Karibo. I still find it hilarious how one of the sole individuals still supporting the strike is still doing the work, and gets more work than anyone else at that. Which is hilarious, as the whole movement would have way more leverage if the single most important character, with 100 times more voice lines than all these striking VAs combined, also refused work. Quite opposite, I think. Pretty sure popular opinion is most people would celebrate Paimon being mute indefinitely, so it would just encourage them to strike longer so she never comes back. As a Paimon hater, I would definitely want her to stay mute. I hope she gets recasted. And yeah, by the way, there has been petitions that people have made to get Karina recast, to get her removed from being the VA for Paimon. Continuing, everything I learn about Karina is against my will, and it makes me hate her so much more. Do you guys remember when like the biggest issue people had with Karina was that she was trying to say that Paimon is non-binary? And was like getting mad at anyone who pointed out that Paimon isn't non-binary? Didn't it kind of all start with that? I think that was like the first controversy, at least the one that I first was aware of. It's gotten so much worse since then. Next comment. At this point, what is Karina not saying to anger the Genshin community and call for her resignation? Not gonna lie, I think her contract was well written in her favor, considering Hoyo not dropping her yet, after all this terrible social media she's doing. Well, she just might be overconfident with Hoyo not really paying attention for now. The thing is, recasting someone takes time, and who knows what the disciplinary structure within Hoyo looks like. I would not be surprised if they are already internally debating whether keeping her or recasting her costs more money in the end, which is why linking financial support to the recast of Yen Paimon in surveys and in public could be important, both in the EN space and hopefully in the CN and JP spaces as well for added pressure. That's interesting. Yeah, I haven't really seen the JP community talking about this. They might be. I just might not have seen it, but we definitely know the CN community has been talking about this stuff. And there were like some pretty viral posts in the CN community on Bilibili talking about getting Paimon recasts. I love that one that was like, Hoyo, if you recast Paimon, I will spend $1,000 on Genesis crystals. Little Kribo is also getting mocked in top responses here on our Genshin Impact. For example, this one that says comparing steelworkers to VAs is wild and completely idiotic. What is this guy on? Well, that's what makes it so much funnier too. It's something we talked about before. The fact that Little Kribo seems to think he's actually helping. Dude thinks he is actually helping by making the worst takes over and over again on Blue Sky, especially considering how the fan base actually supported them until they decided to threaten and bully someone. Then they insult the entire fan base for not supporting workplace harassment. Very shameless and entitled behavior. And fan support is actually pretty important for the strike because it makes it more difficult for studios to replace VAs due to potential backlash. Yes, it is extremely important. We discussed that before, although I didn't really go into detail as much as I could have, which I guess I'll elaborate on right now really quick. So for SAG-AFTRA, this is not the same sort of strike as a steelworker strike, obviously for a lot of reasons. We already talked about that a little bit, but also we don't even need to talk about it. It's very obvious. But here's the point. SAG-AFTRA in of itself, the nature of this union being in the public, given that it's the entertainment industry, they have routinely relied for this strike and others in the past on the public support and having the public help them pressure companies into signing agreements, etc., that SAG-AFTRA wants. So this is what they've been doing. This is a part of their playbook, so to speak, relying on public support and or fan support. Lastly, we'll take a look at this comment that says, can Little Kribo shut the frick up? Quote, support is expected to disappear when the strike starts, unquote. As if there hasn't been tons of support from fans the whole strike. If anyone said to just replace the VAs, they'd always get downvoted. It wasn't until they started to harass people that the support started to waver. Yeah, there are two big reasons why support disappearing. One, VAs being absolute terrible. Two, strike not being about AI, but about SAG trying to bend studios to itself. Yeah, and the second point actually, as a lot of you guys know, is a big reason why the strike was actually losing support for months already. Way before the Jacob Takanashi stuff occurred, more and more people were withdrawing their support for the strike because they were looking into it further and seeing that these people were being misleading and or manipulative, etc. Then the Jacob Takanashi stuff happened and people withdrawing support and criticizing the strike only proliferated from there. Who's Little Kribo even voicing? I'm not using Yen voice, so I'm not familiar with any of these names. Nobody. He just has a wife who's a part of SAG who tried to pull the same BS on Hades too, which, yes, we're still going to talk about. Maybe that's what I'll cover tomorrow. It's going to be a fun one. The VA that got kicked out of the game for trying to strong-arm Hades 2 into signing the SAG union exclusivity agreement? Good riddance. And the most hilarious part, she tried to basically turn the fans into her own personal army to put pressure on the company, and failed. Now Little Kribo's tone is about how consumer support is supposed to disappear. I'm sure there's absolutely no bitter connection between these two things. Okay, and I mentioned that Karina's Blue Sky was still getting worse, even after the screenshot of the stuff we took a look at in that Reddit post, and that's because I don't believe this was included in the Reddit post, but she also reposted this from Little Kribo, where Little Kribo says, I don't believe anything lost during the strike cannot be regained. This, based off his prior statements, seeming to be a very clear implication that they can regain fan support. Yeah, okay, bro, keep coping. However, it's a different matter if the strike ends now. You cannot regain enforceable AI protections if you never first gain them. You cannot regain this momentum, and there is momentum, whether it's visible or not. Dude is huffing so much copium, bro. Then there's this one, which we read a few days ago, but we'll take a look at this again really quick. If you're an actor participating in the strike of certain video games and you feel discouraged by the response to certain games being struck, I highly recommend looking at how people are talking about the strike outside of those games' fandoms. There's plenty of positive conversation and support. Yeah, in your echo chamber. And then we've got this one. I've seen talk of how it's quote-unquote awful to be a voice actor right now. I'd put it to you that it would be far worse if the strike ended today and actors were left at the mercy of AI. I would argue that I've never seen a greater sense of pride, community, and resilience from most VAs I've spoken to. He then responds to Shauna Breyer, the VA for Wuklamat, and Karina reposting this too, where Little Kribo says, "It has been a little alarming to see certain voice actors who have said nary a thing while their colleagues get threatened, and while the line is being held by a quiet majority, suddenly find their voice to say, 'Hey guys, let's not. You're hurting the efforts of people who need to fight.'" So this dude constantly vague posts about things that seem to be referencing the statement that Allegra Clark made. And he's made like numerous separate tweets that are just like vague posting about what she said, trying to refute it. But he's not like actually quoting her or directly saying her name. My point is, it's coming off really cowardly and weird. Same exact thing with this VA, Shauna Breyer, the VA for Wuklamat. We read this statement from her the other day where she was also seemingly upset at Allegra Clark, and implications that her post is about what Allegra Clark had said. And you got Little Kribo and Shauna Breyer acting the same way towards Allegra Clark, seemingly, while Karina's just reposting all of it. And it's such a bizarre thing to watch. This is a little bonus I wanted to talk about really quick. This response to Shauna Breyer I thought was funny, where this person says, and I think this is a VA too. Let me see here. If I recall, aspiring VA, I should say. Oh, you can't see it on screen. Well, there you go. I'll edit that in post-production. You can see, yeah, this person is an aspiring VA. And they say, "Fans need to suck it up as well. Call out the VAs who apparently don't care. We're literally all in this together because y'all can't succeed if you don't have the support." So the second part of that is much better than what Little Kribo is saying. At least this person admits that they do need support. But the first part is hilarious. Like, what the frick are you talking about? Fans need to suck it up as well. Call out the VAs who apparently don't care. The complete opposite is what's happening right now. The VAs who care, aka the ones who want to work or are working, are the ones who are getting the fan support. But this person's like, oh, the fans need to suck it up and call them out. Yeah, nah. Think that's about where we will wrap it up for today. Pretty funny seeing the Genshin Impact subreddit calling out Karina and Little Kribo now too. Oh my gosh. Okay, a few more comments. "Suck it up, quote unquote. I can't strike because I need the money. You're ableist, I'm not a scab. Seriously, pick a side." Kribo with the steelworker analogy. I can't. Good grief, the lack of self-awareness is astounding. What kind of fan base does steelworkers have? It's not a good comparison at all, since VAs, much like actors, are a kind of idol work that depends on a lot of fan support to make it big. It's not like steelworkers have fan meets and people simping after them for their autographs. Oh my gosh, dude. Little Kribo has been giving SAG sloppy top for so long, his throat... Ew, dude. His throat must be like a slip and slide, bro. I mean, not wrong, but gross. Okay, yeah, now we're gonna leave it there. Hope you enjoyed this video though, and if you did, please consider liking and or subscribing. Appreciate ya, and I'll see you in the next one.